just 2 years ago, black women were championing a cause saying the U.S. justice system is not good enough to give justice to the black people we want justice for, right? And then 2 years later, they're now saying the American justice system is good enough to seek justice for black women when it's against a black man. That is what I got a problem with. Because now all of a sudden the justice system is just and it's good enough and it's you take it at its word because Megan the Stallion got justice. That's really what I have a problem with.
I didn't even know who Tory Lane was. But the internet has put me on game. Now I know a little bit more about the situation. Of course, I know who Megan Thee Stallion is, just because of who she is. I don't really listen to her music, but I know who she is. And so when the incident happened, I kind of was in and out on what was going on. But when I heard the verdict, the internet, like especially YouTube, it almost became like this gender war. And I'm like, what happened? So of course, both Mistaken and I had to go and do our research to figure out what the heck was going on. And so my question is, why was there it was like it turned into a gender war, so to speak? Why do you guys think that is? Or is this not what people were thinking? It didn't come like
no, you hit it spot on, but I don't want to go first. Somebody else.
I was going to say, because I don't know if the viewers, because I wasn't aware. If you could just give a little background of the Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion story.
Okay, so I saw the same video you saw, so I hope the story is correct. So basically, what I saw, I ended up watching an attorney's side. It was a guy; he was unbiased, and so he was just reading the transcript. And from what I gather is, I guess they were in a car together, and a gun went off, and that pieces of that gun, whether it be a bullet or fragments from the gun, ended up puncturing or hitting Megan. And so I think she changed her story a couple of times, I think, but he ended up being charged for I think it was carrying a weapon, not unauthorized, but unregistered weapon, and some other things. What were the other things that he was charged for? Does anybody know? I know one was the weapon.
It's like assault with the firearm is the last one.
Okay, so he ended up being charged with it, but this has been going on since like 2020, I believe, and so it's been a continuous who did it kind of thing. Like, was it who's lying in the situation? And anyway, it ended up being men against women, and it's like and it's just turned into this gender war. Like I've heard so many channels, and it's like the women, then the men, and it's like, what? Am I missing something?
Yeah, what were because that part I didn't, because I don't be on internet that much. But in terms of the gender war aspect, I didn't know that there was necessarily a gender war. I just thought that there was a conflict in story where some people were saying that she was lying about what happened, and that and now he's going to be found guilty based on a lie or something like that. That was kind of the gist of what I heard. But what are, if anybody else, in terms of the gender war aspect, what, because people were, just saying that it was unfair, that he was found guilty and there wasn't any evidence that really supported that claim. So
I want
to. Okay, go ahead.
Like from an outside point of view perspective, because I wasn't aware of none of them. I really don't like their music. I don't listen to it. I didn't even know who two of them were, and I only know Megan because she was on Cardi B's video or something like that. I don't know. But if I didn't know all the information that I've gathered from the panels, I will never took it as if it was a gender war, because that only happens there. If it makes sense. Like,
Well, we're talking
Has
about
he been? Has
obviously
he
on
been?
panels on the
Right.
air, like the internet street. We're not talking about like when we walk outside.
No. But these things happens because I've heard, like women lying, saying that a man raped them, and that hasn't happened. I'm not
Right.
saying that doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It does. However, there is an investigation that happens. I'm not quite sure how long it's been, to be honest, but there's an investigation. So the first thing that comes to my mind is like, there was a weapon there. Whose weapon is this? It's like, oh, there's a weapon. Nobody's carrying a weapon. Where, who got this? So there is someone irresponsibly carrying a gun. What for? If you don't have registration, you haven't done a psychology test to get a weapon. So to me, you are not supposed to be carrying a weapon. That's the way. Because in my country, in order for you to have a weapon, you must go through a psychology test. And I know
Psychology.
Trigger Mike is like, oh, because that's his business. I get it. I understand. But that's why,
Psychology.
I can actually, I feel in peace to send my daughter to school because I know no shootings is going to happen. We never had that before. So all I'm saying is that the first thing that comes to my mind is, who was carrying? Who's the owner of that weapon? Number one. Number two is like, do you have a registration to have the weapon? Because when you do have that, you are responsible for that weapon. And you're not just gonna leave it unattended somewhere when someone can just get it and then it's under your name. That's the way it is for us. So you are responsible for it. But again, it's just a behavior that happens. People can carry those whenever they want to, whatever they go. And I'm like, was he really trying to harm her? And he actually shoot on the ground, and then the fragments kind of like got to her, or was in between the girls? Nobody knows. And what I learned is that someone lied. There was alcohol involved. You never remember what you're doing if you're too drunk. So it obviously will take time, for you to investigate what's going on. Um, they say that it's not fair for him. I really don't know. I cannot say that. But what I can say is that there's a lot of women out there also getting shot, and nobody's saying that men are trying to attack these women intentionally. It's only when a man happens to a man. And I'm not on nobody's side. I'm just saying that this happens on a daily basis. So why does it have to be a war?
So does anybody else want to add on to that? This,
Um, the gender war part, I think you were absolutely right. It has sparked a mini gender war. I didn't notice it for a very long time until I started. You got to jump in the comments. It's not really, stuff you hear on YouTube. You got to go to the comments on these posts and just read the debauchery. Oh my goodness. So that's where I realized that I think at the beginning of the trial, right? And I'm not one for let's just put it out there. All of this is conjecture. The only people that know what happened were the three people there. You know what I mean? Everything we hear or the opinion we have, it's all conjecture. None of us were there, and none of us know what happened. But what I'm really upset about and why I believe this gender war started, it's the toxicity around the situation and the lies. The reason why, I look at Meg the Stallion like shouldn't have did certain things is because she weaponized an entire movement to control a narrative, right? The protect black women thing and all of that, that was more of a movement to get people on her side, right? Court, especially things dealing with friends and people that you really want to keep that low key, especially as a rapper. We got a no snitching culture, all of that. So it's weird because this is the thing about black people and the American justice system. Just 2 years ago, black women were championing a cause saying the U.S. justice system is not good enough to give justice to the black people we want justice for, right? And then 2 years later, they're now saying the American justice system is good enough to seek justice for black women when it's against a black man. That is what I got a problem with. Because now all of a sudden the justice system is just and it's good enough and you take it at its word because Megan the Stallion got justice. That's really what I have a problem with. And then again, as we've seen and we always know, They did not put Tory Lanez on trial. They have a bad habit in this country of putting someone's past on trial. All I worry about and all I care about is the incident that occurred. What the state of California versus Tory Lanez for that incident. Don't put his history on trial, and that's what they did with all of these campaigns, baller alert, shade room, all the stuff that they were saying. You put his history on trial, and then
So I
I
have a
feel,
wait.
then I feel like we did so much of that just reading what was going on a day to day, they created reasonable doubt without a shadow of a doubt. They say you have to find someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They created so much reasonable doubt that very few people thought he was going to get convicted on all counts. I figured he was going to get convicted on something, not all counts. That's why I feel like when she weaponized this movement against him and people, and we're talking about black people. So when black women jump behind a cause and give it so much popularity, they don't feel anything by just throwing the book at them, and that's what they did.
So let me ask you a quick question while I'm on, and then I'll go to you, Marcus. So in your opinion, if you watched your trial, you're saying that you side with him.
So we got to be careful with the words. I don't side with him.
But it seems like a lot of your concerns were from her.
I was going to say, for this, I don't think he was ever going to get off. It's a man and two women in the car, and there's a gun. Who do we think that gun belongs to? Right? He's a rap. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Well, there were so there was 4 people in the car. Yeah. She didn't have to only be the only person to speak up. Why didn't the driver say anything, or the other girl?
Yeah, so we assuming he was going to get charged on something. You can't get off on all those 3 with all of that going on. They're going to nail something to somebody. But I don't take his side. I'm looking at the law as written. So when I'm looking at the case, I'm like, reasonable doubt. Is anybody creating reasonable doubt? And they actually did, because they shot Megan's credibility to hell. And
well, didn't the eyewitness say that they saw a girl get out of the car and shoot?
There was so much. There was so
like
much.
The eyewitness said that they saw, and that was, I believe they were referencing the girl that had the ballistics on her hand, and she was seen shooting a gun as well. So I mean, I think obviously, so for me in that moment, y'all are so drunk, you're so belligerent. No one really has any idea at that point if both of y'all shot towards her, which is the craziest thing. It's just like hearing, like when I heard it briefly, I'm just like, that's absolutely insane. Like, these are your friends, people that you're supposed to trust. Y'all get into an argument, y'all are drunk, and you're shooting at her. Like, she's crawling towards the sidewalk and y'all are literally like shooting at her. So I think the whole story is just, it sounds like it needs to be like it would be a movie, like it wouldn't even be like real life. In the same breath, it's like they were both shooting. So who did the bullet come from at that point? And if that's the case, then they should both be held accountable.
So wait a minute, she was outside, because the video I saw a video, and it was the cops surrounded the car and she got out the car. So are you saying she got back in the car?
So apparently, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but from the brief snippet that I saw, that there was an eyewitness who saw and heard the whole, or a good bit of it. He saw a woman shooting, and then saw 2 men outside of the car. He was saying how like the shortest man was like going insane. He was screaming, and saw like, I guess when the gun goes off and it makes like a flash, that like little, I'm not sure what it's called, but he saw that coming from the shortest man. So he identified 2 shooters.
So go ahead, Marcus, because there was a video, audio, and I'm pretty sure Marcus is going to mention that was
right. Yeah. Can y'all first read his actual charge, what he got found guilty of? Like, let's make sure we get that. And so at the beginning, I was like, he ain't do that. It don't make sense. You feel me? Like, why would this young man shoot at her? It really seemed like some two girls fighting over him, hitting both of them, and then him trying to hit the other girl at the pool party. They got the fighting and it just went crazy from there. But then that audio leaks, and I was like, you know what? Bro probably did that shit. I ain't gonna hold you. When I heard that audio, I wasn't there, so I can't say. But after I heard that audio, it also let me know, like, from the propaganda we was getting from the public and the media, neither one of them could have got a fair trial because it did turn into a gender war. Men was on one side, black men was on one side, black women was on the other side. Like, we want justice. Y'all using this system and weaponizing it against us, and there's an undertone for other things that's going on within the community where black men feel like, you mad at me about something and you call the police and bring them to our house and use them as an intervention to get your revenge on me. So I think that was underpinning of different things that actually are going on within society, and it played out via this case. It's unfortunate that the young lady got shot, or not even shot, that she got hurt, right? Because I don't think she got shot either. I think she stepped on glass. But I do think the firearm was discharged. I think both of them discharged the firearm.
So
let me got held accountable for it.
So I tried to get a video uploaded, but
think she got shot together.
So, can you guys hear me? So I try to get it just to clarify, because I don't want so this is the information I received, and the chat can tell me if it's correct or not. But I saw an attorney, he read the transcript because I don't want to have misinformation from what I know. Okay, so he read the transcript and he said what happened was, and he showed a video of them getting out the car. Megan did not have any clothes on, and the other young lady had gotten out the car as well. They had their hands up, and according to the report, Megan did not tell the truth. She said she did not remember seeing a gun, blah, 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 blah. But then her story changed after that incident, because the police reported what they saw, and the police reported that she was injured. And then they actually they saw the gun. The gun was in the front seat, which was where Mr. Lane was sitting. It was beside where he was sitting, and they touched it. It was warm. And it was called, I guess, something in the chamber. I don't know.
Gunshot.
Okay.
Oh, you called him Mr. Lane. Let's address that first.
Well, so what's his name?
Daystar
Peterson.
Okay, whatever. T-Lane, whatever. So it was in the chamber. So this is what the police reported. Even though she denied the fire going off, the police knew that something had gone on just because of the gun and everything. At that time, when he made this report, the girl Chelsea did not step up. But then I read more stuff, and it said that Chelsea didn't want to testify. And I'm thinking, well, go to the driver. And it's like, why are y'all not? We're trying to save this young man. If he didn't do anything wrong, why are so many people quiet?
Well, that was my whole perspective on it, because again, if there were two shooters and you don't know who actually, you know what I mean? If there were two shooters at some point, you don't know which individual.
Well, there was only one gun found. There was not.
Yeah, but both of them tested positive for ballistics, and the eyewitness saw a woman shooter and saw a male shooter. And so there were two shooters. And so at some point, everybody's belligerent. Nobody has really any real recollection of, the entire night, of any kind of, consistently throughout the night. Now you have two shooters. You don't really know who shot you at the end. But to answer your question, Marcus, they pulled bullet fragments out of her foot. So at some point, the evidence just leads to the fact that she was shot. And at some point, we just can't negate the facts that are being presented.
I saw two different medical reports. That's why I don't believe she was shot. I saw two different medical reports. One said that it was possible fragments in it, and there was a whole nother report that said that it was no fragments and it was glass in there.
Yeah. So let's try to not. Was that the charge for shooting? The charge? What was the charge?
So that's why I say
you also got to notice that it's very hard. So if they say they had an eyewitness, they also had an eyewitness for Tory Lanez possibly shooting the gun, I think. So if he shot her, like, the charge was assault. So if she had a through and through gunshot wound, those would have been way more severe charges. attempted manslaughter, so
No,
something.
he aimed below the waist. If
Yeah, that's why I'm like, but
it wouldn't be manslaughter for that.
the thing of, so I don't know if y'all know, I'm into guns. I'm a
Me
gun
too.
dealer, gun instructor, all of that. The report read shrapnel.
Wasn't no
You don't have shrapnel in your leg from getting shot, especially in your foot. You had she had like what they say surgery to remove. Y'all do know getting stitches is considered surgery. It's considered minor surgery. So when people say surgery, they could be blowing that way out of proportion. You to remove glass is surgery, right? Out of a foot. But shrapnel doesn't come from that. It really means the bullet hit somewhere else.
and maybe ricochet into it.
Exactly. Hit close to her, hit the ground. She stepped on it while she was stepping in glass. Like that's why I'm like, you don't write a report as shrapnel for a through and through gunshot wound. And then if you actually get shot in your foot, everybody look at their foot right now and look how close those bones are together. You're going to require major surgery.
The fact that her body was hit by shards, whether it was ricocheted, is that not a problem? Because
we're not saying that.
And I ask that way because even kind of the way that you're presenting it, Trigger Mike, and it kind of from my perspective is the narrative online as well, where it's very minimizing, where it's like, well, it's only. I mean, they don't do that.
I definitely don't mean to minimize it. What I'm saying is that they're being so vague. And remember when I said they're weaponizing movements against it? A big part of that is he shot her. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, he pointed and meant to do serious bodily harm by aiming a gun and shooting. That is not what happened, given the evidence provided.
So let me ask you a question.
Let me say this.
Go ahead. Because the AP
I'm not like say that my daughters came and say Tory Lane shot them. It's time. It's gonna be
exactly like
it's time to move. But we just specifically removing because I think we give it as a given that it's wrong if anybody get hurt. Like that's a given. So maybe we should have put that disclaimer up first. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think Trigger Mike and me is celebrating anybody.
No, we're not, and I'm definitely not minimizing the entire incident. Is sad. You wish it never would have happened. But I feel this is such a bad comparison. But let me make it anyway. Do you know why I feel like what's his name that killed Trayvon Martin? You know why he got off?
Zimmerman.
You know why he got off? Because the public outrage forced the prosecutor's office to overinflate charges so they wouldn't get backlash from the public, right? He would have been in jail. He'd still be in jail on manslaughter.
And so
that is what they could prove, right? You couldn't prove murder. You could only prove manslaughter, and that's why he got off. This same thing happened here where she yelled, well, people were saying he shot her. Now, so you see what I'm saying? So now they weaponize that hatred toward him, thinking he did pure vicious with malicious intent assault on her, right? You see what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, we can't prove that. Nobody.
I think what's black and white in this moment is the fact that regardless of what happened, you took a gun out and shot it in proximity enough for bullets, whatever, to hit someone else. And that's a problem. Like you are, I mean, who knows? Had he maybe been 1 inch over, the girl could be dead.